Hello and welcome to yet another video here on the YouTube channel Speedframing Fellowship STF. My name is Andreas Norwegian Viking and I'm joined today by a very special guest.
Stop it!
It's Alex from Warploque Miniatures.
Hi guys!
So you're in Norway?
I am in Norway, yes.
That was weird. Just saw you the other day, just landed in Norway.
Yeah, well I was, because there's been a few people who have said to me, oh Alex, you should do this Inktober thing. People who don't know what Inktober is, it's a challenge to artists to do a drawing every day throughout October, and there's a set theme for every day.
Oh, yeah.
And I've been meaning to do it, but I just haven't got around to it yet, so I thought I'd catch up whilst I'm here on holiday, because there's lots of train journeys and whatever, so I'd catch up. So I did my first one yesterday, and I put it on Facebook saying, I just landed in Norway, and then you were like, what? You're in Norway? Well, why didn't anybody tell me? Yeah, because me and my friend Adam, who's painting over there, doesn't want to be on camera. We're off to see our friend Dagfinn up north in, how do you pronounce it? Ålesund.
Ålesund, yeah.
Ålesund, yeah. So we're going to be doing some hiking, going to be doing, because Norway is, from what I've heard, is a very inspiring country, lots of wild places, so pretty useful for a fantasy miniatures maker. So I reckon I should be getting some quite good ideas while I'm here.
Could be.
Yeah.
So obviously for people who don't know about Warploque Miniatures and Arcworlde, it is a wonderfully cool setting, I think. And we were talking the other day about miniatures producers that do their own thing, like for instance Sean Sutter from Relic Blade, and Kings of Metal King Studio, and you have you do most of the exactly the same thing. You do the artwork and you do the sculpting, and you do outsource the rules stuff.
I do, yes.
But there is parallels, and I just think it's an awesome opportunity for more people to know about your miniature concepts, and I'm very sure that we'll have stuff in the background where we show you stuff, cool stuff that you have done over the past 7 years.
Well, I founded the company. Well, founded the company. I started selling casts of my work in 2010 when I was 17. I was in just going into my last year of sixth form, or like college in the UK.
Oh yeah.
And we because I've been keeping a few forums and stuff. Like I started having more of an internet presence when I was about 14, kind of converting Games Workshop models and stuff like that, and I built quite a following. I think some of my blogs on some of the forums got over 200,000 hits and stuff like that, because I was so young and people really liked my work, and it got to a point where people were saying to me, Alex, why don't you start selling your stuff? So I did. It was around that time that I'd done my first commercial commissions for then Maelstrom Games, but the Mjös Miniatures now.
Yes, you did work for them.
I did their first ever model.
Which one was that again?
Oh, it was like a Jabberwocky style creature.
Oh yes.
Years and years. I mean, I was only 16 when I did it, so looking back on it, it's terrible now. But they still sell it, and people still buy it. But so I used the proceeds from those commissions to fund my first ever models, which were some trolls that I just sculpted, partly for my own personal use, partly for an art project I was doing for my school at the time, and I couldn't sell them. Nobody wanted them. The first 2 years of Warploque Miniatures, I couldn't give the models away, I found it very, very frustrating, because there would be so many people on the forum saying, oh yeah, this is great, I love these models, but then as soon as I put them on sale, just silence. And for someone who was starting out, it was very disconcerting and got quite frustrating with it actually. And it was around that time that I decided to go to university to not do art, because I was thinking, well, there's no point, I'm not doing very well. So I ended up doing human genetic biology, which is I only decided to go on like the last day of the deadline. I just thought, oh, I'll pick something that sounds impressive. There we
It
go.
does sound impressive.
Yeah. And I went to Nottingham University, because obviously, well, let's say there's a certain industry there which may have some interest to a budding miniature sculptor as myself was at the time.
Some companies there.
Yeah,
A few.
just a few. You might have heard of them. Maybe they're a bit niche.
Warlord, Mantic.
Yeah, Games
Workshop.
Workshop. Yeah, so I ended up going to university there, and it was around that time that I came up with the idea to do a miniatures game. Because my thoughts at the time were, well, maybe the reason why people aren't buying my models is because there's nothing to use them for. Because my style is very distinctive. It doesn't fit in with many other games, and I imagine a lot of the people looking at it thinking, it's cool, but you know, hobby budgets are tight. It was just coming out of the recession as well. It was, early, it was around 2012, and we had the economic crash 2008. People didn't have as much kind of cash to throw around, so they're thinking, well, I can only buy stuff that I can play with. So I thought, well, if there's a miniatures game there, then maybe they'd want to get into it. So I came up with the idea of Arcworlde. Now, I've always been more of a hobbyist than a gamer. I have played games throughout my life, but it was the creative side that really inspired me. So I had some help coming up with some game rules. A guy called Korean Black actually wrote the first ever iteration of the Arcworlde rules, which changed massively once the Kickstarter had actually happened. But I used that as a base, came up with a concept, came up with the war bands and the races and things like that, and I never really expected it to take off. And I chucked it on Kickstarter and just after my first year of university, which was 2013, and it just went crazy.
The first one got you quite a fair bit of change, though.
Yeah, like it was £57,000
on a 5,000 goal.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of that I reckon was because I had a guy called James Griffiths helping me out at the time. He's Infamy Miniatures, and he has a particularly amazing skill at marketing. He's very, very, very good at it. It's something that I've always been rubbish at, because it's my own work. I feel like I can't really market something that's my own, because typical artists are very kind of self-conscious about their work and things, whereas he was just like, nope, sell, post it on all the forums, post it on Facebook, get it out there, and it did amazingly well. And that was really the first time that I thought to myself, well, maybe I could actually do this as a job. I mean, I'm doing this degree I hate, and this is really what I'm wanting to do. So the next 2 years was fulfilled, because I never planned it to be so big. So a lot of the concepts that I come up with, I was coming up with on the fly, because I was thinking, stretch goals. So it took me much longer to fulfill than I originally thought, especially because I made the decision to do a major rules rewrite, which I had a lot of help with. James did a lot of the core rules rewriting, and also had some help from other people, and that kind of changed the game quite massively. So that turned into a 2-year project. So the models took a year to sculpt, and then the rules took a year to develop, and then I had to do all the artwork, all of the kind of the graphic design and stuff like that and stuff. So it really kind of stretched out, and by that point I was spending so much time working on Warploque that I didn't really go to any lectures for my course. So it got to a point where I kind of had this big epiphany where I was like, I'm wasting my time, I need to grab life, I need to do this, because this is my passion, this is what I've always wanted to do, and I've got an opportunity here. Why am I wasting my time on other things? So I quit my course with 4 months to go.
I think many people are grateful for that.
Well, yeah, my parents weren't, because they still haven't really. My dad in particular still hasn't really forgiven me, because I'm the oldest son. None of my parents went to university, so they kind of had a lot of hopes pinned on me. And when I said, I'm giving it all up, I'm going to make toys for a living, they were a bit like,
Well, Alex, Dad, if you're watching this, we'll let you know that Alex is now on a Norwegian YouTube channel that's talking about his project, and he has followers all around the world who loves his work. So
models that my dad casts now.
and he does, yeah.
So I mean, yeah, and I would confidently say that my father is one of the best resin casters in the industry. Like, he doesn't see it as a production line. He's an artisan. You know, every single model that he casts, he cleans up himself, he makes sure it's perfect. Every piece is a piece of artwork to him, and it's incredible. I mean, Adam's currently painting up one of his casts right now, and it was actually what my dad's casting which first attracted him to be on the Arcworlde team, because as a painter, you know, there's nothing better than a resin model that requires no clean-up at all, which I'm very, very lucky to have him. And he got on board, he got doing that because I'd already started things, and we were driving home from Salute one time. Salute, for you guys who don't know, Salute is the UK's biggest wargaming show, and he was like, I reckon I could cast that. Oh, I reckon I'll give that a go. And within the space of like a year, he was already amazing at it.
That is wonderful though.
It is.
Really cool.
I'm very, very lucky to because both of my parents are very much involved. Like, my dad does all the casting, he also answers a lot of the email. My mum is very, very active in it as well. She answers all the emails, she packs up all the orders and stuff, and she's kind of like the organisational powerhouse behind Warploque.
It's become a family business.
It really is.
Yeah.
I mean, it is great, because it's quite funny kind of looking back, and you know, I was sat inside sculpting toys when other people would be, you know, going out and stuff, and they'd be like, oh, when are you going to stop wasting your time doing those silly models, Alex? And as soon as I started making money with it, they were like, actually, yeah. And
it's not that bad, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you, as you said, you have a very distinctive style of miniatures, and I think lots can be said about the smaller gaming companies doing a very, very like specific style. It's your style,
yeah,
as is a lot of the other. It's this person's style and this person's style. I really think those kind of miniature games or miniature lines lends itself to not necessarily a very broad appeal, but the people who buy into that are there for the long haul.
Well, like because when I'm trying to describe my business idea to other people who aren't necessarily in the industry, I use like this metaphor, and it's like when I'm making my business, I want it to be like that little coffee shop in a tiny little back alley that no one knows that much about, but the guys who do know about it go there every day and they love it, and because it's very unique, it's very special. They're not trying to appeal to a broad market, so they can afford to specialise and they can afford to really be unique with what they do. And it's because I'm completely self-taught. I'm a self-taught sculptor, I'm a self-taught artist. I haven't really had my style kind of guided, because I know that a lot of sculptors got their wings from sculpting for other companies, so they were taught to sculpt like that company. So often a lot of the certain sculptors, their style is a lot more kind of, you know, it fits in with lots of things. Whereas I kind of worked in my own little bubble. Like, my style is very, very distinctive, and it's a kind of a double-edged sword, because on the one hand it is, as I say, distinctive, so you can tell it's my model just by looking at it. But it does narrow my market quite a lot, because they don't fit in with any other games. But then I suppose it depends on what kind of market you're really aiming for.
It's really cool, because what you said about that, because very many sculptors, like just before you started sculpting professionally, most sculptors who are budding sculptors really try to get into GW, the big one, and they try to emulate their style. And I've seen numerous like hand sculpted pieces of space marines and dwarves which fit into their IP. And if you're constantly sculpting and doing your work towards a set goal, you're not developing your own style, and your own style then will have been influenced by the work you're trying to do for this other company.
Yeah, of course.
And that's what I think is really, really interesting about your company, and as well a couple of others, is that they don't have this bias towards going your own way. It's more, I like this. It's like your faces are very distinctive. Your faces, your trolls are very distinctive. Your trolls, and I can see a Warploque miniatures monster, and it's not this and it's not this. It's Arcworlde, and it's really cool. It's really cool to see. So I think well, people are seeing cool miniatures. I think I'll be putting a picture of the Leviathan.
Oh yeah, the undead Leviathan.
That's one of my favourite ones, and just to have that as a sculpt in our world is really cool, because undead flying whale is not something you see every day, but it's cool. And I know many people would love to have that as a proxy for something. I can see that people use this for as proxies for whole armies of miniatures, obviously, but it's something very distinctive and something very cool, and I think you've caught that spark of borderline insanity genius, where you have these miniatures that doesn't look like everyone else's and does look like something very, very special. And of course, not everyone will be happy to have something very special. They want something that fits into everything. But the people that are, ooh, I'll have that. That's cool. Those you have for the long haul.
Well, that's the thing, and those are the kind of people that I want to appeal to. Like, I want to meet and attract like-minded weirdos who love something that's unique and completely different from everyone, because that's what I've always liked. Like, my taste when it comes to creative stuff, I'm always very much drawn to things that have a very, very distinctive visual style, whether it's video games, films, cartoons, anything. If your style looks like everyone else's, how are you meant to be unique? How are you meant to stand out? I mean, it's like my style, for me, I think my style is my brand. Like, a lot of people don't know the name of Warploque, a lot of people don't really know the name of Arcworlde, but they see a model of mine, and a lot of people, I've seen that guy's stuff before. Where is it? Oh yeah, it was that Trolls that I saw in that forum 3 years ago. Which, I suppose it's nice, and you can say the same thing when it comes to like music, for example. If a music artist has a certain riff or a certain flair or a certain style, you only have to listen to a few bars and you instantly know who it is. And I like that. I like that I stand out, and as I said to you before, it can be a double-edged sword, but it's one that I quite like.
And it's obviously worked for you.
Well, so far it's doing okay.
Is not a total failure. It is very much a success story from my point of view.
Thank you very much.
That's really cool to see. I was supposed to back your first Kickstarter, and I have to say this: I don't own any of your miniatures. And
I'm sure that'll have to change.
Well, it'll have to change, because I was supposed to buy your first Kickstarter, and it was on the tail end of a financial crisis, as you said, and I was in a bit of worry. So I was like, I have this cash, and I can spend it on something cool. And I did have everything else I needed for all my other games, so I was like, this is really, really cool. And I still remember writing a message when I had to pay some bills. I was like, I'm sorry, I have to drop out, because I think I had like quite a high pledge, and I sent you a message and I got a message back, and it's probably still in the Kickstarter inbox somewhere. And I never got around to rectify that, but with your 3 successful Kickstarters now, you did the first one, then you did the starter box, the Troll,
Battle of the Troll Bridge,
which Dogfin has been raving about when I see him at Norwegian Masters and stuff like that. And we also, you did the last one, which I want to talk a bit briefly about.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because it is quite cool for me as a Norwegian to see you take a route that's very like Nordic, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I can't completely remember the name. You posted a picture of a is it like a golem thing with like a ship's mast on
the
front?
skipdrage. I'm not sure how you're meant to pronounce it in Norwegian.
Oh yeah, that was it. It's written like Danish. It's skibdrage.
Skibdrage.
I think it's Danish. It's loosely translated ship's dragon. Ship's dragon mast. Or not the dragon mast, but
the figurehead.
The figurehead, yeah. And that just, because I'm known as, I presume that very many of Warploque Miniatures fans will see this video and not know me, but I'm known as Andreas Norwegian Viking, a nickname I was given a few years ago because people can't pronounce my last name. And I'm really fond of the Old Norse culture and obviously the themes of their design process, and I really like that miniature. That captures the whole thing. And now you've gone and made a whole line of miniatures that fits into this very Nordic themed inspired thing, and I really, really love that. And now you're going into the mountains, and probably you're going to get some more inspiration for more stuff as well.
Definitely.
So I do think that I have to rectify a mistake I made about 7 years ago on Kickstarter and get myself a warband of those Norse people.
Well, seeing as you're waiting, like the models will be much better. Seeing as you've waited, because I'm one of those horrendous people, and I made my art. It's like I'll make something, then within the space of a year, I'll hate it. No, it's rubbish. Take it away, because there's so many models on my web store now that if I had my way, I would take them off and never sell them again. But the uproar that would cause in the community would be horrendous, because Arcworlde fans seem to have this terrible habit of liking things that, the older that something is, the more they want to buy it. So I'll be releasing new models and stuff, and they'll be, oh, but I want this one model that you posted once on this forum once 7 years ago. Do you still sell it? I'm like, oh, I'm sure I've got them all somewhere. It's really bad. It's really funny because I always get told off by wanting to constantly remake things and move on. But I think as a creative, it's important not to rest on your laurels. I think if you just do one thing and then think, right, that's it, it's done now, I'm going to sit on it and it's just going to be like that forever. You never improve as a someone who's trying to make stuff. And I'm sure that it's the same with every kind of walk of creative life. You'll see a band who'll go on stage with their new album, there'll be guys in the audience saying, play that song that you did 20 years ago that I still love.
Because obviously you worked on the concept, and then you worked on the miniature for how many hours, and then you have the casting process, and then trying to sell that miniature. So your time spent on one miniature, especially the big ones, is massive, and obviously people love your style, and it's like, yeah, that is a really cool miniature, but you'll have a slightly different look on the same miniature as those people. So I can understand both sides of the argument, and people don't want to redo old stuff because they actually love the miniature, while you maybe have a much more love-hate relationship to it.
Very
the
much
amount
so.
of work going into
it's
the
more the
process.
kind of being able to see the imperfections, because I'll look at a model and think, oh god, it's horrible, and my dad will say, oh, what's wrong with it? I said, oh, if you see this bit here, I haven't properly blended that bit in, and if you look at this, I haven't carved that bit right, and it's a tiny thing that only I would ever notice, whereas a person buying a model wouldn't notice it all, but because I know it's there, and it will niggle me if I don't fix it.
It's the same with painting though. If I don't paint something correctly, I know it's there, but people don't look on the underbelly of a beast if it's near the base. But I know it's
there.
I know it's not well painted underneath that. It's a constant thing, because I'm my sculpting experience is just removing like gaps. That's my whole thing. I can't sculpt for the life of me.
I can teach you.
Oh yeah.
I can teach you. I actually do sculpting classes.
You do, yeah.
I do, at Nottingham Trent University. I'm actually doing one, not this Saturday, the Saturday after.
Cool.
Yeah, just for it's for complete beginners. Because the vast majority of the people who come to my classes aren't even into wargaming. They just, because I kind of market it more as a kind of an art form or a craft, rather than make these models for wargaming. Because a lot of the skills that are involved in making small scale models, you don't have to just do wargaming miniatures with them. You can make whatever you want. If you kind of isolate sculpting as an art form in itself rather than as a means to an end to make models to play games with. So yeah, we get all walks of life. I mean, the youngest person I've taught was 14, and the oldest person I taught was in his 60s. So
grand.
Yes,
Really
I love
cool.
it.
I'm actually, I've reserved a ticket for a sculpting, like sculpture on Guild Ball miniature at SteamCon.
Oh yeah.
And that's in about 4.5 weeks now, I think, as we're recording this, and but that's going to be CAD digital sculpt, so it's quite a different thing.
Quite a very different process. Yeah.
That's one of my things, because I like working with green stuff to fill gaps, but actually doing the whole thing, layering on top of each other, I'm much more impatient. So I can't wait until the bottom layer is dried and then put stuff onto it. It's not something I do very good, but
that's why you get yourself a little mini desk oven.
oh yeah.
So, well, because I have a tiny little oven, it's probably about this big, and it reduces the drying time of like milliput and green stuff from like 6 hours to about 10 minutes. That's how I can churn stuff out so quickly, because I'm not having to wait for hours at a time for each of the layers to dry. I just, I've got kind of a production line where I'm working on one model while the other one's drying, and then I just swap them over. So I've got a constant kind of work stream.
That's good. That's good. But I think if I'm doing any sculpting, CAD would probably be the thing for me, because it's like working and I can erase my mistakes.
Yeah, well, it's where the industry's going.
Yeah, it
definitely. I mean, as time goes on, more and more people are having digitally sculpted models in their range, especially if they're a company which is having to outsource sculptures. It's far more economically viable to have a digital sculptor do miniatures, because that's the thing, it's with digital, if you can make one copy of something, you can very easily repose it, add different things on. It makes business sense to have it done digitally. But I think for me it's more kind of keeping the craft alive of traditional sculpting, and I think as digital is becoming more and more prevalent in the industry, people are starting to, I'd say, almost lean more towards respecting traditional stuff again. It's kind of like the whole hipster mentality, that the rarer something becomes, the more valued it is.
Yeah, because I've seen a couple of new Kickstarters where it's like classic miniatures, and they're like spin cast metal, and they're sculpted in green stuff, and people buy into that.
They love it.
Yeah, and I think be different, be like you and a few others, be that person that walks your own way and doesn't do exactly what everyone else is doing, because then you'll be just a carbon copy of everyone else. And as I said, it's you that does everything. You sculpt and you do the artwork for it, and that gives you the opportunity to just go about making the miniature your way. But if you outsource the sculpting process, and you'll get like, these are 20 different poses of the same one, and they'll say, yeah, we'll have that one, or we'll have that one, but can you change this bit? And then just magically tweak it. And it's two sides of the industry, but I do appreciate that people want the old stuff and the way it's been gone for, like, ever since wargaming started.
Oh god, yeah, definitely.
100 years ago.
Yeah, but as I said, it is a very difficult process. I mean, I often find that traditional sculptors find the transition to digital sculpting so much more easier than the opposite way, because it's it's that kind of, I think working with items in real life gives you a real sense of form, a sense of what things work in certain scales. I mean, the technology has advanced over the years, but the first ever kind of digitally sculpted miniatures that I've seen, you're drafting in people who's traditionally worked on things like video games and stuff, where they're used to having models essentially like this big, and then they think, oh, if you just shrink it down it'll work, but it doesn't work like that. You have to change the scale of certain things, bulk up certain parts and know what kind of detail you've got to work with. I mean, for example, those Fallout models that you were showing me just before we started filming, like the amount of detail in that is incredible. And I'd be interested to see how it translates into when it's that big.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of interviews with them, and they said they had to up some of the, not every model can be in scale. If you took the Fallout universe and put all the models next to each other, up to the big behemoth on one scale and Radroach on the other, the Radroach will be bigger than they are in the game, and the behemoth will be smaller than it is in the game. So you have to find that sweet spot where it works both in a physical form and it still carries the feel of the model in the universe or in the game.
Yeah, very much so.
So yeah, it's a lot to look forward to, I think, in wargaming industry going forward. A lot of new companies are
It's a very exciting time, and it's quite funny because there was this big talk about how video games are going to kill the miniature gaming industry, whereas it's bigger than ever.
Yeah.
And I think we're almost in a golden age where there are so many people who are popping up with ideas, so many games out there that it's almost there's too much stuff. It was spoiled for choice.
There is.
Yeah, so
we have a saying here in the studio: play all the games.
Yeah.
And Wild, which if you're a regular watcher of our channel, he's our buy all the different rule books guy, and then see what is really cool, and then he'll go out and buy a start set, and I'll maybe buy a start set, and that's the reason why we have Relic Blade on the channel, and why we have Blood and Plunder on the channel. These very niche games that not everyone has heard of, and we'd love to showcase Arcworlde in the future as well. And for instance, Dark Souls, the board game, uses miniatures, and that is the other way around. Like, it's not killing the wargaming industry; it's adding property from video games onto like Fallout as well. So I think we can have both, and I think they can
definitely.
Wargaming, miniature games, computer games has also been a huge thing recently. Yeah,
Warhammer Total War 2 has just come out, for example.
It looks great.
Yeah.
So you can have both, and I think as the industry grows, that more people will be drawn to not necessarily the one big company, but be drawn to the different kinds of styles they like Arcworlde, like Relic Blade, the niche, cool, like this is the style I want to play, as maybe a secondary game, or even just buy the miniatures because they are really cool. So yeah. Well,
a lot of my customers, they don't play the game, but they just like to have the models because they just stand out. And I've had so many people come up to me and said, "Oh yeah, I first got into Arcworlde because I was walking past someone playing a game on a table, and I just saw something. I was like, what the bloody hell is that?" I mean, it's what Adam said, isn't it? He just sat there painting away silently, bless him.
It does look like the Barbarian is getting a nice coat of paint on it.
Yeah, you're blasting through that pretty quickly.
Exactly. You got here like 2 hours ago.
You started about half an hour ago and it's already done.
Yeah, this was racing when we arrived.
Yeah.
So that was really cool. So where can people find you?
Right. Well, we have a pretty active Facebook community. There's the Warploque Miniatures Facebook page, and there's also the Arcworlde official Facebook group, which is where all the guys who play the game regularly post up. It's where I post up a lot of my you know, work in progress pictures, news and things like that. If people have any rules questions, if people have any battle reports that they want to share and things like that, that's where it all kind of kicks off. And there's about 700 members there now, which is good. And it's a private group. Only the most gentlemanly, gentle ladyly people are accepted. But it means it's a really nice, tight knit, very supportive group. I mean, all the people who are involved in the game are actually in the group. So if there are any questions, you know, Adam will answer them, or Gobbo, who's our rules writer, will be there to answer the questions. So it's a really supportive place for people who are new to the game to go. And then there's the website and things like that.
Yeah, and you have your website. I think we can do the address here as well, and there will be the link in the description below as well. So you can go there and buy the miniatures, I presume. You can.
Okay, we're just in the final processes of delivery. At this time of talking, we're just in the final process of getting the Troubles in the North Kickstarter out. We're just waiting on the metal miniatures to be cast. So that's all very exciting. So once they're out to the Kickstarter backers, because obviously they come first, they'll be on the web store, and I'll be working on my next project.
Awesome. I think there might be an order for a certain ski dragger in the future.
Because he wasn't actually included in the Kickstarter. Because there are certain models in the book which weren't released in the Kickstarter. So there is still more stuff to come for Troubles in the North. It's not over yet.
So do check out obviously the Facebook page and the website for all these amazing miniatures. Thank you for a lovely chat.
Thank you for a lovely chat.
I know you have a train to catch.
A 4-hour train.
Do some sculpting on the train as well?
Well, I've been told that it's actually quite steady, so it should be okay.
It's not bad. So yeah, thank you for a lovely chat, and good luck with your travels, and climb a few mountains.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it.
Indeed. So until next time, I have been Andreas Norwegian Viking here on the YouTube channel Speedfriendly Fellowship. As always, please comment, like, share and subscribe. Do consider backing us on Patreon using the link in the description below. It is a way for you to support us in our studio and our efforts. For only $1 a month, you get say in what battle reports we do exclusively every month, as well as everything else we do. So do check that out, and as always, support your hobby.